Director of Communications. I am the Director of Communications for the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network. I am glad you all are here. We are joined today by a very special group of fantastic people. They all happen to be women, and they are just a great group. Claudia Hamilton, I have known for a few years now, as well as Beth Lambert. And today I'm meeting Rising with you for the first time, and we are thrilled to be here. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. We are here today as partners with the Southeast Mental Health Technology Transfer Center at the Rollins School of Public Health at Emory University. And we are glad to be here and thankful for the opportunity. Claudia, say hello.
Absolutely. Hello. So great to be on this panel and to talk about self-care. My name is Claudia Hamilton. I am a person that lives a productive, colorful, meaningful, exciting life, but also a person that lives with a mental health diagnosis. I'm also a person in long-term recovery. I live in Rome, Georgia. I am a mother and a wife, and I work with Georgia Overdose Prevention a lot with harm reduction, and I am the vice president of the Rome NAMI chapter. And I am super excited to be here, and I will pass it to Beth, and then Beth can pass it to Rising to introduce.
Hey y'all. So I'm Beth, and I'm also a person in long-term recovery from mental health challenges as well as substance use disorder. I use my voice. And for the voiceless today, I'm actually a peer recovery coach in the Grady ED, and I get to work with people every day that come in with opioid use disorder and come in through the psychiatric crisis unit and try to help them get the help and support that they need to move forward with their lives. I also live in Rome, Georgia, and I spend most of my time with my canine companion, MJ. She's running around here somewhere and being outdoors as much as possible. So I'm going to pass it to Rising now.
Hey everyone, I'm Rising. I live in LJ, so not Rome, just a little further north. I am a yoga teacher. I teach meditation. I facilitate sound baths. I do Thai body work. So coming in kind of on the physical, mental, and spirit wellness is what I think of the essence of who we really are inside. I also have canine and also feline companions that might make an appearance today. They wanted nothing to do with me this morning, but now that I'm on a call, they want to jump on the desk. So they might say hi later.
All right, Beth, do you want to, can you access your slides?
Yes, I can.
All right, we're gonna jump right in and talk about self-care and self-care planning, what that looks like, what it means to us, benefits, all of that. We also welcome you to type your ideas, suggestions, your hoorays, your hurrahs, all of that in the chat. There is a huge face of mine. And a lot of the stuff that I just went over. Yeah, that's me. And I love grassroots work, worked with grassroots stuff. So I think the next slide will be our Beth and her MJ that she just talked about.
Yes. Gotta love MJ. She keeps me alive sometimes. All right.
I want to start with this slide first because we are talking about self-care and knowing that for a lot of people, I think Rising touched on it when she was talking about body, mind, and spirit. So being aware of what's happening in our bodies, and a lot of times that involves traumas. People have gone through trauma. So want you to know that this is a resource if you need it, that can provide crisis services as far as counseling. They do veteran services. The website's great. So if you need it, or if you know somebody who needs it, that's a great resource to have. All right. So, yes. Did I miss something? Okay. SAMHSA's definition, they define self-care right there as any, let me minimize this so I can read it to you correctly. You really don't need me to, but anything that you do to keep yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, socially, and spiritually healthy. For me, I define self-care more along the lines of what we kind of touched on earlier. So for me, self-care is an awareness, appreciation, a gratitude for my mind, body, and spirit, because I'm of the belief that the things that I'm grateful for, I will take care of. And so that's what I personally define my self-care as. This was challenging for me because I think I have been taught a lot about self-care and self-care plans, but sitting down and reflecting on it for myself a lot is to have my own definition for me. So self-care plan and what that looks like. Okay, so I had to take a deep breath on this, because if you're like me or any other American, you have a job, you may have a family, you may have pets, you have friends, you have loved ones, you have a schedule. It can be like super overwhelming to even think about making a plan to take care of yourself. And that's true for me. It is important. Part of my purpose on this earth is to care about other humans, and sometimes I do that to a fault. I want the best for people, and sometimes that means that I don't include myself in the best of people. So making a self-care plan for me, first I have to realize that this isn't a crisis plan. So if you have been in the certified peer specialist field, you're familiar with something called the RAP plan. That is going to be more crisis tailored. This is not that. This is to empower you to set up a routine. This is really not for crisis. This is really to help avoid crisis. So when I look at my self-care plan, I think about mind, body, and spirit. And I have to take an honest look at what I have to do in a day. What do I have to do? And where can I overlap some of those things to take care of me in the process of being able to carry out these things that I have to do? So what are my daily activities, and what can I do? So for instance, if somebody works 8 to 5, what can we do in an 8 to 5 day to take care of my mind, body, and spirit? For me, and this has changed, and it will change if I'm doing self-reflecting and giving myself feedback and evaluating what's working and what's not working for me. It changes a lot. So over the course of my, I don't know, last 15 years, I've learned that nutrition and water play a huge role for me in taking care of myself. Now, I say that because I need to hear myself say that. I don't say it because I've got it knocked down. I don't. But as somebody who potentially works 8 to 5, these are some of the things that we can do to take care of ourselves. So I'll just run through the list of the things that I do that work into a busy schedule for me. So I like to nap. I like to rest. My mind goes a million miles an hour. So if I can get a 10-minute, 15-minute nap, maybe twice a week, that's a good reset for me. And I feel refreshed, and I feel like I'm not so overwhelmed, and I can make it through, tomorrow without a nap. I give hugs. Hugs, if you've been in a lot of the recovery world, we know that hugs release oxytocin. And so they feel good. They lower your blood pressure. And they do that for the person or the animal that's getting the hug. It's a mutual benefit there. I go to the gym. I go to the chiropractor. I get massages. I dance. I listen to music. I meditate and I pray. And those are things that I can do throughout. That's a lot of stuff to do throughout a week to take care of me. And I've managed to, I started small. I didn't start with a huge list. So if you don't have a self-care plan, that's okay. Some of these things you might already be doing, and some of these things you're like, oh yeah, I could add that in. I could make sure I drink a half a gallon of water or a gallon of water a day. And how can I do that? So making your plan could be as simple as starting there. And then I evaluate some of the things that, maybe at the end of the month, I might say, okay, I don't have to go to the chiropractor every week. Maybe next month I go twice a month. And I can play with it a little bit, but when I have a routine that shows myself that I care about myself, I stay empowered. I stay very hopeful and empowered for me. I stay engaged. That's a benefit of having a self-care plan is I don't have to, I'm not withdrawing myself from people. I want to be engaged. I stay out of the hospital. I stay out of jail. I'm able to keep relationships. I'm able to keep healthy relationships when I take care of myself. And I'm able to stay employed if I want to be. I have a very flexible schedule, and that's that's what works for me. Is I remain flexible, which has been something I've had to coach myself through because 10 years ago, I stayed very rigid. I had a very rigid schedule, and anybody who has come out of any sort of incarceration or very managed program, that may be something that you've carried with you is a very rigid program, and maybe that works for you. But I've learned to kind of grow out of that and be flexible more, and it's working better for me. All right.
Thank you, Claudia.
Yes, you're welcome.
I appreciate it. So can you help me keep an eye on the chat, since I'm screen sharing? That way, if we need to answer any questions or if anybody has any thoughts to add, we want to make sure that everybody has a seat at the table today. All right. So behaviors, thoughts, and feelings that may serve as signals that self-care activities are warranted. Excuse me. So I looked up a couple of little things, and I just wanted to hit a few key points. Like the rhythms of nature, our bodies have natural rhythms too. The nervous system is one of our natural rhythms. When the nervous system is in balance, we feel like our best self. We make better decisions for ourselves, our families, and our communities. So we'll call this our wellness zone, our okay zone. So when we're in this zone, we can manage the stresses of life better. So many of us experience the effects of stress because of challenges either at home or at work, or out in our wider community. If somebody pulls out in front of us in traffic, that may shoot our stress level up. But sometimes the stress is just too much. And like friends and family, I know for me, I've dealt with this recently where they say, you're not acting like yourself. And I don't feel like myself, and you may not feel like yourself. And so what I've found is that this means that your body's natural rhythm is just kind of out of balance. So there's a few key concepts that help to understand a little more about what happens to your nervous system after distressing events. So when we're stuck in a high zone, that means that we're experiencing our mind and our body are like on full alert. And the body's alert system causes our hearts to speed up, our breathing to become faster and more shallow. It slows down digestion. This is amping up of the nervous system, and it happens without us even thinking. And it also happens like when we're in danger, and it puts us in that fight or flight kind of state. When we're stuck in a low zone, if there's a threat or danger for like too long, our bodies may not be able to put on the brake anymore. So it's always running in the high zone. If it runs in the high zone for too long, then we crash into the low zone, and you may feel numb, tired, depressed. So things that could activate us are reminders of things that remind us that our nervous system, like past events, can remind us that our nervous system is in distress. This can include people, places, things, body sensations, words, smells that are connected to distressing events in our lives. And they can cause us to get bumped out of like our okay zone. And those can be like external triggers. They can be an internal trigger. There can be many things for a lot of people that can get us stuck in that high zone or that low zone. So what we want to try to do is be in that okay zone. We want to be in the zone, as I call it. So one of the things that I've learned is these are just a few things with like behaviors and thoughts and feelings. In our thinking, we can become disassociated. We can make poor decisions. We can forget things. I do that a lot. I forget where I put my keys or the dog's collar, just any number of like small things. Physically, it can cause sleep disturbances. You can feel like your stomach is upset, or, that tensing that you have when your muscles are all tight, makes your neck hurt and your head start hurting. Spiritually, it could be a loss of faith. It could lead to like hopelessness. Some people, it could, increase their faith. They could go to that more. So it's not necessarily always a bad thing on certain ends. Emotionally, heightened anxiety, avoidance, fear, and depression. In relationships, we can become clingy. We could be angry at people, for the slightest thing. And that could lead to like our behaviors of like acting out. Things like addictions come up, eating disorders, isolating, which I think we all know, if you have any type of mental health challenge or even have dealt with substance use disorder, that is not a good place to be. So for all intents and purposes, those are just some of the behavior, thoughts, and feelings for me that I thought of off the top of my head. So in order for us to deal with those things, here's a model, and this model came from the Trauma Institute. I'm going to drop their website and some more stuff on the next slide, but this thing that they call tracking is a skill that we learn, and it's when we learn to read our body's nervous system, and that means that we become aware of what is happening in our body. So the more that we become aware of the tightening of the muscles or the release of the muscles, we can learn to tell the difference in the distressing sensations and the sensations of well-being. And it takes practice. It takes a lot of practice, especially when you're stuck in that high zone for so long. It really is, for me, I have become accustomed to being there. So when I do get a sense of relief from that and get back into the okay zone, I'm like, wow, I didn't even realize I was there for so long. So another skill that they mention is resourcing, and resourcing means naming things in your life that are uplifting and peaceful, things that bring joy or calming. And so like try to connect to the sensations of well-being that are pleasant or neutral to bring yourself back to that okay zone. Being able to name your resource, like for me, if I say my dog MJ, I name it, and that's the first step. And then tracking the sensation behind what I feel when I say her name, or when I pet her, or when I take her for a walk. That's kind of the way that we're able to incorporate that sensory with our nervous system, and it helps us bring that back in to balance. And things that could make the resources stronger in us is when we think about as much detail as possible, the sensations connected to that. It's like painting a full picture. The sight, the smell, the sounds that are pleasing to you. So the more that we are able to practice these things, the more that we're able to rebalance the nervous system and put us back into that okay zone. That's where we want to be. We want to be okay. We want to feel okay. Because when we're talking about self-care, if we get out of that zone for too long, like Claudia was talking about, and we're not able to self-direct ourselves with a self-care plan, then that's going to lead us into the help now. Help now is when I need outside people and outside resources to make decisions for me and my body, to put me back in a place of wellness. But the more that I'm able to practice things in my life, that the grounding, for one, is a direct contact with something. I have a fidget. I don't have it on me. I don't know if you can tell because I'm moving around a lot, but anything that you can do where you can sit, you can stand, put your hands on a table, take a walk, pet the dog, pet the cat. There's lots of things that you can do as a form of like just actually putting your hands to your heart is a way of grounding. Gesturing being that spontaneous movement of the body. Animals, what I learned too in another training was that animals shake. Like I used to wonder like why my dog would just shake. And they shake because that's their way of releasing stress. So if we get up, like Claudia was talking about with dancing, and we move and we're able to get limber, like we're able to physically release the stress and the feelings of anxiety that just shake it off of ourselves. And I really think that's good. You just dance like no one is watching. So that gesturing helps bring us back to a place of self-calming. It brings comfort and safety. The releasing, representing the body, releasing sensations of the stress and the trauma. It's universal. To represent wholeness, spiritual beliefs, deep personal meaning, like I said, bringing your hand to your heart. And if anybody out in the audience has anything that you do on a daily basis when stuff like this comes up for you, I would love to hear any type of things that you do in your daily life. So that brings me to, I've already said some of these things, but drinking a glass of water, counting backwards from 20, going for a walk, listening to sounds. I listen to music a lot. I love music. Music is, I have found that music is really healing for me. And when I go to like shows or music festivals, it also gives me that sense of I can dance and I can release that stress from my body. Naming 6 colors you see, paying close attention to your surroundings, like detailed. I have a lamp on my desk. I have some hand sanitizer on my desk. I have a mouse. I have notes. I have a computer. I think when we're able to take our minds and focus, because if anybody is like me, I have a hamster wheel sometimes, and I'm constantly running on that hamster wheel, or more often than not, I'm in a little race car and I'm just zooming around in my mind. So being able to slow my mind down long enough to focus on stuff kind of helps me bring myself back to the center. And so I have dropped a picture of the iChill app. That is one of the resources that the Trauma Resource Institute has. You can download it. It looks like this on your phone, and they go more in depth about some of the things that I talked about. And they have a daily plan of action. So this is one of the things that I've actually started to incorporate into my daily life so that I can help myself stay well. And I am going to bring us now to be able to have a demonstration of an informal self-care activity that can be used as part of a self-care plan. And I'm going to turn it over to Miss Rising for this.
All right, thank you. Um, you asked, what other folks in the audience do in their day to day, and I'm like, yes to all of the above. That's definitely everything that has been said. A lot of it overlaps with what I want to share. And I'm going to share it anyway because, sometimes we hear things differently from different people. And so, yeah, a little bit more about me. I discovered yoga in 2015 when I was working a job that really made me unhappy. I was crying on Sunday mornings because I was dreading going to work so much on Monday morning. And walked past a local yoga studio that I never noticed before. They had little flyers out about a meditation series that they were starting. And it talked about reducing stress and anxiety. And I'm like, that sounds like what I need. And so I started going to the meditation classes. After that, quickly jumped into their yoga classes. And it's made a world of a difference for me. I've had a few job changes since then, and last year finally left the corporate world and have my own business, Guided Heart Wellness, that you see there. So like I talked about, yoga, Thai body work, which is like assisted stretching, meditation, sound baths. These are all tools that I have found to be useful on my journey, and having my own business in this area is my way of being able to share that with folks between LJ and Atlanta. So thank you again for having me today. It really is an honor to be able to be here and share with you all. Now, I do think it's important to note that I'm not a licensed therapist or mental health practitioner. So everything that I'm going to share with you today, I've learned either from my yoga teacher training or meditation teacher training, as well as my own life experiences. I don't think there's a single right approach to any of what we've talked about, and that's why there are so many different options and things to consider, because every individual is going to find something that works best for them. So today I primarily want to share a body awareness and a few breathing practices that help me feel centered. Now, with that being said, I know that body and breath awareness isn't comfortable for everyone. So I do want to offer a few alternatives, all of which involve being present in the current moment. And so being here in the moment has helped me to get out of my head and whatever stories are going on there and really just kind of drop into the present. And so to start, I like to remind myself that in this moment, I am safe. It doesn't matter what's happened in the past or what might happen in the future. What matters is this moment. And in this moment, I am safe. So I invite you to say those words to yourself now, either silently in your mind or maybe out loud, maybe letting out a sigh as you say it. In this moment, I am safe. Let's do that one more time. In this moment, I am safe. Now, if breath and body awareness isn't for you, I invite you to tune into whichever sense or senses appeal to you the most. So oftentimes, I find that the more senses I engage, the more I can pull out of my thoughts and be present in the moment. So, for example, sight, you can focus on the lovely image of the candles on the screen. or taking a gentle gaze out of a window, looking at a blank wall, down towards your lap, etc. But letting your eyes unfocus if that feels safe, so you're not, looking hard at something, but rather just kind of letting it exist in your field of vision. A smell is another sense we can engage. So, what can you smell right now? Maybe you can smell your skin or your laundry soap on your clothes. Is there a particular scent to the room that you're in? I walked into a gas station once that smelled exactly like the gym in my grandmother's old church in Alabama. And that brought back a lot of memories. So, smell can be a really powerful anchor. And then, of course, there's sound. So, I'm assuming you can hear my voice, but what other sounds can you hear? Maybe you can hear birds. Maybe you hear an air conditioner running. Maybe sounds of other people or animals around you. I invite you to notice the sounds without judging them as good or bad. Instead of letting them be a part of your experience in this moment exactly as they are. And touch. Beth, you talked about this in the points that you mentioned. I collect rocks. That can be a really nice thing for me to hold. Also, sometimes the benefit of something to look at. Here at my desk, I have all sorts of things that I fidget with during the day. And so I do want to call out the difference between like fidgeting versus an intentional feeling of touch and, looking at something and engaging with what it feels like to hold that thing. And so these are all options that you have available to you. I'm going to continue with body and breath practices. So if at any time you don't want to continue, you're more than welcome to return to any of the practices that I've mentioned, that Beth has mentioned, that Claudia has mentioned, or anything else that feels good to you in this moment. Maybe even repeating to yourself, in this moment, I am safe. So if it feels okay for you to close your eyes, I invite you to do so. Otherwise, taking a gentle gaze like we've discussed before. And I'm going to close my eyes because it helps me stay centered and check in with what's going on. And so to start, I invite you to become aware of the muscles in your face, starting with your forehead. Are your brows furrowed and pulling together? Can you release that? Maybe wag the eyebrows up and down a few times to help engage those muscles and then let them relax. Noticing the muscles around your eyes. Are they squinting? Same thing. Can you let those relax? Becoming aware of your jaw. Are you clenching your jaw? Maybe letting that hang down, even if the lips part and your mouth falls open. Nobody's looking. We can't see you. Maybe letting the tongue drop away from the roof of the mouth. And then carrying your awareness down into your neck and shoulders, maybe rolling the shoulders forward, up and back a few times. If you want to connect your movement with your breath as you inhale, bringing the shoulders up and exhaling them back down. Maybe coming back to that little shake that Beth mentioned, that can feel a good way to let go of tension in the body. And then bringing awareness to your spine. If you're sitting, really maybe putting both feet on the ground so that you can sit evenly across your sit bones. And from there, lifting the spine up, not straining, just reaching through the crown of the head, sitting nice and tall. And at the same time, letting the front of the body be relaxed. If it feels good for you in your body, maybe placing a hand on the low belly and a hand on the chest. And allowing yourself to feel how your body expands and naturally contracts as you breathe in and out. And to start, I'll do one practice that is an even inhale and exhale. I have two practices that I'll share with you. So the first is an even inhale and exhale. So we'll count in for a count of 4 as we breathe in. There might be a natural pause at the top and then counting out for a count of 4 as you exhale. So I'll lead the count. You're invited to follow along. And breathing in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. out, 2, 3, 4. One more time together. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. I'll invite you to continue that for a couple of breaths at your own pace, your own count. I will be here quietly waiting, and then we'll pick up with the second breath. All right. Transitioning into the next practice, it's very similar where we have a count of 4. This time it's called a box breath. And so we'll breathe in for 4. This time you'll hold for a count of 4 and then out for 4 and hold for a count of 4. And so we'll do that a few times again. I'll lead that, and then you'll be invited to practice that on your own. Remembering at any time you can change what you're doing, you can come out of it. This is all just an invitation for you to explore and see what feels good for you in your body. So we'll start by exhaling all the air out of your lungs, and then we'll breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. One more time together. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. You can continue this practice for a couple of breaths in your own time, your own count. You can return to your normal breathing. I will hold space for a few moments. And letting that practice go. Just taking a moment to check back in with yourself, noticing how you're feeling after that. And as always, please remember to drink water, stay hydrated. And thank you again for having me. Back to you, Beth and Claudia.
Thank you so much, Rising. I feel better already.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. And Rising, one more time, will you share where you are and the name of your business that you have?
Yeah, so I'm up in Ellijay. My business is Guided Heart Wellness. And I serve clients between Ellijay and Georgia, or Ellijay and Atlanta for in-person sessions, and then obviously for remote sessions. You can be anywhere.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I think,
So,
go ahead.
go ahead, Claudia.
Yeah, I think for me, like I always enjoy practicing that kind of breathing. Man, do I don't ever realize how much my body rushes through breathing in a day until I practice something like that. And I really learned to appreciate each breath. And but then I also realize how much I don't even fully breathe, like all my, like throughout the day, if I am feeling stressed in my mind or in my body, my breaths are short, and they're just it's so healing. Like Beth said, she feels better already just in those few short breaths. You really can feel a difference. I could have gone to sleep, just saying.
And I do want to add one more thing while it's top of mind, because Beth, you mentioned being in kind of lower states as well. So the practices I shared help when I'm in an elevated state. But if someone is in a low state, or I'm in a low state where I'm feeling down and depressed and want to lay on the couch all day. There's another breath practice called breath of joy. I'm not going to demonstrate it now because it involves standing and lots of things, but you can find it on YouTube, and I find it to be a great way to energize myself and my body. So breath of joy is a great one.
Thank
Yeah,
you
that
so
was
much. Yeah.
that
Mhm.
was one of the things Beth and I were talking about prior to doing this is, so much about self-care is kind of in decreasing the stress, but also there is the upswing of that. Like, what do I do if I want to motivate myself? I find myself sometimes, I am up here at this high level of stress and for whatever reason, but then there are times that I may not be diagnosed with depression, but I am feeling depressed. And so how and what can I do for my body to kind of um, help my body get through it? Because I think sometimes our bodies can tell our minds what to do. So Beth, do you want to, did you have something?
Yes. When I was trying to tap, I can't tap and think at the same time sometimes. Yeah, so I will share a little bit about my recent experience. My dog is trying to come in on the thing. I'm sorry, y'all. So I stayed in a state of high on the higher end for a really long time. Last year, I lost someone really close to me, and then I changed jobs, and there was a lot of things that happened all at once. And I think I got stuck. I know I got stuck in kind of like a higher, in the higher, I want to say almost risque zone. And, I shared earlier how I had friends and family that were like, hey, what's going on with you? You're just not yourself. And, nothing's wrong with me. I'm fine. And I think that it's really easy to get comfortable in a state of not being okay and not even being able to realize that we're not okay. And I know for me, it took at the outside people saying, hey, like you seem different. Is there anything that I can do to support you? And that was kind of like the catalyst for me. And it also talks about in in the Trauma Resource Institute, they also talk about that going from that high to that low. And it was almost kind of like once something was said to me, I just kind of went, "Boop." And like all I wanted to do was just bury myself in the bed. And I'm a very active person. I hike, I camp, um, I kayak. I love to be on the water. Like my dog and I live in an urban area, so like I don't have a yard. I have to walk her, and her walks had become minimal, and that wasn't fair to her. And so as I'm trying to do what I need to do to come out of this, I got invited to talk about this today. Of course, then I started doing some research. I went to a summit yesterday for my job and met these people that were also talking about self-care. And I'm learning things, even being in a position as a professional and helping other people doesn't mean that I know everything. Doesn't, and I can know how to help someone else, but how do I apply it to my own life? What do I do to take care of Beth? And how do I go about learning to navigate that when I'm not in a place of wellness, when I'm not okay? And I think being able, because I live alone, I live with my dog. I work from home 90% of the time, so it's real comfortable. It's real comfortable to isolate myself, and it's real comfortable to get here. But holding myself to a level of accountability and knowing that that is not me, that is not who I am as a person. And literally, like I have had to claw my way out of it. Like I make myself, okay, it's time for MJ to go for her walk at 11 o'clock. And not just going to the end of the road, making sure that I do the whole mile and not just a half a mile. And as I have been able to begrudgingly do those things, I have started to feel better. So I think for me, mostly it's just, I can have somebody else say, it looks like something's going on with you. But what about those people that, you don't have a mom or a dad or a best friend that's going to go, something's not quite right with you. How do we hold ourselves accountable to do what we need to do to take care of ourselves? And that's just kind of a little bit of background about what's been going on with me and how I have really had to dig my heels in to take care of Beth today. So I have to stick to a structured schedule.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that. I think one of the things that one of my signals that hey body, mind, spirit, you're out of whack is I forget things. I mean, I do. I tend to fill my plate so full because my intention is to stay engaged, stay engaged, stay engaged, stay engaged. But that if that's just my intention and I am not taking care of myself, the things that I start to notice is I don't show up, I forget about things, I'm late, can't find the documents I need to bring to the thing I'm supposed to go to. So yes, there are lots of things for me that show up as signals. So I have to write it down. So I I don't have a digital, I don't keep anything on my phone like my schedule because I don't really know how to do it. I like paper. Paper, I think it was just one of those things ingrained in me as a child in all of my times in getting in trouble that I had to write things to remember. So I take my planner out and I write it down, which helps me remember it. And so I know that I can look at my month and go, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath. I have all these things on my month, but this is how I'm going to take care of myself now. So I can see all of my daily activities on my month, but then I can put like this really sweet blanket of self-care on top of it, of my plan of how I'm going to take care of myself through this month. And if I can remember to keep up with my planner, I've done really well. But so it's just that's one way for me to look at my month, look at all the things I have to do, or even my week, um, and say, okay, on Sunday night, I'm going to make my meals for the week. I'm going to go to the gym these days. I'm going to fill up my water bottles for tomorrow, so that I'm putting myself first so that I can take care of all the things that I need to do. I so appreciated what's all been shared. One of the things that as I've gotten older has we talked about sensory stuff and like certain smells for me I've been able to associate with kind of like the decreasing of stress, but also the get up. So, there are some smells that will, I can maybe look at that breathing exercise that Rising mentioned and pair it with some of the smells that I put when trying to get myself out of that funky stuff. So, because I do think the more senses that I can engage, the better I'll be. I like
I,
that.
yeah, I like that a lot too. I really appreciated the box breathing. I too, Claudia, was like, oh, I hadn't even been taking deep breaths. And to bring that focus and that awareness back to right here, like I literally could feel my heart rate slowing down. I could feel myself filling up with breath, and like I could feel the tension released from my shoulders. So that is something that I will definitely be incorporating into my self-care activities for sure.
I just, I every time I talk about self-care, I realize just how much knowledge about self-care that we all truly have, but the application part of it is really bad. I know all the things, and I think that's why these are helpful, because I can't hear it enough. I can't hear it enough. I can't practice it enough. You know, I especially with how many things are out to distract us and to keep us from taking care of ourselves. I just think it's more important every day to take care of us. So
Yes,
I do have one more thing to share, if that's okay.
yes,
absolutely.
absolutely.
You're talking about smells and things that smell good. This was gifted to me. It's a little bottle of just water and peppermint essential oil. And the woman that gifted it to me shared that whenever something is going on that's positive in her life, she likes to choose her favorite scent, which was peppermint at the time, and spray it. And that way she smells it, and that smell starts to associate with positive things. And so, similar to what you were saying, Claudia, whenever she's feeling down, she can spritz this and it helps bring back those memories of those times that were positive for her. And I don't know where she got these little bottles, but I'm sure you could get them somewhere for not very expensive. And, same
Yeah.
thing with little essential oils, picking a smell that you love. Lavender is my favorite. And just make yourself a little treat that, fits in a bag or a pocket or your car or whatever. It's easy
Yeah.
to, in theory, it's easy. Like you
And
were
I
saying,
think
Yeah.
sometimes the application, not so great, but yeah.
Yeah, the preparation is the hardest part, but I
Yeah.
love that because I'll put some essential oils just on like cotton balls in my car, and so when I get in my car from a long day, or if I get in my car, if I do it at nighttime, when I get in the car in the morning, I'm like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
smells so good in here. I could just be, I'm happy in here. So it's just the one of the biggest things for me is my sense of smell. So yeah,
yeah.
that's a great little tool. I love it.
So I think that we can all agree that the more we practice or put things or activities into practice in our lives, the more they'll become like second nature into first nature. And the more that we do that and incorporate those things into our lives, the more we can stay inside the okay zone. We can be in our zone. I love that. I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this series today. Thank you, Claudia. And
Yeah. Thank you all for being here. If there's any last minute questions, comments for the chat, throw them in there. Just to recap, there was some resources that Beth shared from the Trauma Institute. If you are curious about those, then we also shared our crisis and access information. If you missed that, it was 988 life. Hold, please.
my bad, 988.
Lifeline. 988lifeline.org is the website for that. And you can always look on the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network website too. They talk about your RAP plans.
Yeah.
If you need to have more of a crisis centered plan to take care of yourself. But we enjoyed our time with y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thanks everyone. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Rising. Thank you, Beth. And thank you also to you, Chris, and to the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network. That is going to end today's session. I'd like to encourage everyone still here to just take a quick minute to fill out the survey that I put in the chat. That is our SAMHSA required evaluation survey that we are required by SAMHSA to share with you all. Filling out that survey, it helps us to provide feedback to SAMHSA, and it helps us get the support that we need to provide more awesome events like this one. So that would really help us out if you could fill out that survey. Also, if you had a good time today and you want to continue the fun next week, we will be having part 2 of this session, the mind-body connection and employee wellness. That is next Wednesday on May 29th at 2 p.m. Eastern. And I have put the registration link for that event as well into the chat. So awesome. And if you have any questions about registration or downloading a certificate of attendance for your contact hours, should you need that, please just reach out to the Southeast MHTTC. You can contact us at info@southeastmhttc.org. All right, that will conclude today's event. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful
Thanks,
rest of
Emily.
your Wednesday. Thank you.